Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S6 6058, Voyage to the Volcano, Chapter 1. Dorothy and Tim, your team's ready for the next question? Miss Frizzle asked. We're in the middle of a class quiz, all about volcanoes. My team was competing against Tim's team, and the competition was as red hot as molten lava. I shot a quick glance at my quiz bowl teammates, Carlos, Phoebe, and Ralphie. They all gave me a thumbs up. Ready, Miss Frizzle? I said confidently. Ready, Miss Frizzle, Tim said, just as confidently. Miss Frizzle reached her hand into the bowl full of questions she had prepared for the volcano quiz bowl. As she pulled one out, I looked at the scoreboard. DA team, 7 points, Tim's team, 7 points. Unbelievable. I knew everything there was to know about volcanoes. I had crammed my head full of facts and figures for weeks. I had drilled Carlos, Phoebe, and Ralphie about everything we knew. But somehow, Tim and his team had kept up with us. My finger was itching to press the buzzer as Miss Frizzle unfolded the question and read it. The freeze cleared her throat. What big volcano erupted in the United States in 1980? Blat! My buzzer was the first to go up. DA, what's your answer? The freeze asked. Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980 in Washington state, I said. According to my research, the eruption blew the top right off the mountain. Correct, the freeze said. That makes the score 8-7, with Dorothy Ann's team in the lead. Yes, I gave Phoebe a high five. Hands on your buzzers, teams, Miss Frizzle said. Here is the next question. As we waited for the freeze to read out the next question, I quickly ran through the names of the top 10 volcanic eruptions in the history of the world, just in case. This is a tough one, Miss Frizzle said. What is the farthest away that volcanoes have been found? My mind drew a blank. In desperation, I looked at Phoebe, Carlos, and Ralphie. The faces were blanks too. The blot. Tim's buzzer sounded off like a fire alarm. Tim, what is your answer? The volcanoes in outer space. Tim said with a smile. That's as far from us as you can get. Out of this world, Tim. Miss Frizzle said, your team gets another point. The score stands at 8-8. Wow, Tim, I said with admiration. How did you know that? I read about it once in a science fiction story. Tim said, and I am writing a report on it. The next question. The freeze announced. I looked down the row of my teammates. Carlos was missing. How had he managed to sneak away? And where was he? We found out a second later. There was a funny bubbling noise from the back of the room. We all looked over to where Arnold's model volcano stood. Something red was starting to flow from its top. My volcano, Arnold screamed. It's erupting. The volcano began to spit out red liquid all over the room. Carlos suddenly stood up from behind the model. His face was covered with splotches of fake lava. Carlos, did you pour vinegar into my volcano? Arnold demanded. Is that what this is? Carlos asked, holding up a plastic bottle. Oh no, we got to get that thing out of here before it blows its top all over the room. The freeze rushed to pick up the model volcano that had lava flowing down its sides and onto the floor. She carried it out the classroom door and set it on the ground outside. Some lava flowed out onto the freeze, but it blended right in with the orange lava bursting out of the volcanoes on her dress. Miss Frizzle came back inside, and we all rushed to the window to watch the volcanic action. It looks just like a real volcano, Phoebe said, but I wanted to make it explode, Arnold said with a sniffle. Why don't you tell us how your model works? Miss Frizzle said. Later, you can make it erupt again. Miss Frizzle, can we get back to the quiz bowl? Tim asked. I rushed to my seat and put my hand over the buzzer. I'm ready, I announced. Everyone else took his or her seat, and the freeze dipped into the quiz bowl for another question. What state is made up entirely of volcanoes? I know. Just as I was ready to push down on my buzzer, I saw Carlos' hand reach over and press it. Blah. Carlos, what's the answer? Miss Frizzle asked. That it would be a state of disaster. Carlos said and then laughed wildly at his own joke. Nice try, Carlos, but jokes don't count in a quiz ball. Miss Frizzle said with a grin. Tim, it's your team's turn to try to answer the question. Keisha raised her hand to answer. The state made up entirely of volcano is the 50th state to join the Union, the beautiful Hawaii. Right you are, Miss Frizzle said with a smile. Hawaii is a hot spot for volcanoes. I was feeling a little hot myself. The score was now 9-8 in favor of Tim's team. Whichever team got to 10 first was the winner. I wiped my hand across my sweating forehead and got ready for the next question. Miss Freeze pulled a question out of the bowl. What do you call lava when it's still inside a volcano? From magma to lava. Much hotter than the surface, so hot that in some places it melts rocks. This melted rock becomes a thick, gooey, pasty substance called magma. When magma erupts from a volcano and hits the air, it becomes lava. Lava is a red-hot liquid that later cools and becomes solid rocks. It only took me 3 seconds to hit that buzzer. The blah. TA, what is your answer? The freeze asked. Magma, I said loudly and clearly. While it's still inside a volcano, lava is called magma. Score 1 for DA team, Miss Frizzle said. It looks like it's all tied up again at 9-9. And here's a tiebreaker question. Tim and I eyed each other across the room. We waited as the freeze pulled out the question and read it. What's the most active volcano on Earth today? Miss Frizzle asked. The room was filled with a dead silence. I fiddled with my pencil as I racked my brain for the answer. I looked at Carlos, Phoebe, and Rafi. They just shrugged their shoulder. I looked at Tim, was just scratching his head. Miss Frizzle had stumped all of us. Miss Frizzle got up and wiped a blob of red lava off her dress. Then she reached over and picked up Liz off her desk. Liz, I think it's time for a field trip. Do you want to go see a volcano erupt? Liz let out a squeak and the rest of us, except Arnold. Of course, he erupted into a cheer. I knew I should have stayed home today, Arnold said with a sigh. Follow me, the freeze said as she headed toward the door. We're going on a mystery trip to the most active volcano on Earth, and the first team to figure out where we're going wins the quiz bowl. Tim and I grabbed our buzzers, then we sprinted neck and neck to the magic school bus. The bus wanted the best view out the window of the bus. I knew right then that this wasn't going to be any ordinary field trip. It was going to be a duel of brains and brawn. And may the best kid win. I reached the door of the magic school bus first, went up the step, slid into the window seat, right behind Miss Frizzle. I was ready to roll. Chapter 2. Tim slid into the seat beside me. Then he leaned forward to check out the magic school bus's instrument panel. Miss Frizzle was busy fiddling with the dials as the rest of the kids boarded the bus. Okay, kids, the freeze announced. Prepare for takeoff. We're in for a long flight. As a long flight, Tim said. Does that mean we are crossing an ocean? That's correct, Tim, Miss Frizzle said. So that rules out Mount St. Helens, I said. And Patrikutin in Mexico, Tim added. Right, I said, impressed that Tim knew that I began to worry that I might be slipping as a science whiz of Miss Frizzle's class. I made up my mind right then and there to read 5 more encyclopedia entries a day. Miss Frizzle started up the magic school bus and rolled out of the parking lot. When she pressed the red button with the jet on it, I knew it wouldn't be long before we were airborne. Outside my window, I saw the magic school bus sprout wings. The jet engine started to roar, and soon we are streaking down the road. Runway. and lifting off. Wow, Carlos yelled. We're out of here. Please tell us where we're going. Miss Frizzle, Arnold pleaded. I don't like surprises. Don't worry, Arnold, the freeze said. You'll love this surprise. Tim glanced at me with a puzzled look on his face. Where could we be going that Arnold would like? Arnold didn't like any surprises. Maybe we're going someplace cold, Tim said, or someplace hot. I added. Oh no, Tim said. She wouldn't take us inside a volcano, would she? We both stared at the back of the freeze head in front of us. A curly red hair was standing on, and with excitement, who knew what we were in for? Soon the magic school jet had gained enough altitude to be up above the clouds. Every few minutes, Tim and I looked out the window to see if we could tell where we were going, but all we could see were the fluffy white clouds. Those clouds must have looked like a ship because I fell asleep while counting them. I don't know how long I was sleeping, but I woke up with a start when Keisha started to shriek. Look, she yelled. Down below us. It's Hawaii. I was still half asleep, but I knew I had to grab for my buzzer. I found it just in time. The blood. Tim's buzzer went off at exactly the same time as mine. Kilauea, Kilauea, we both yelled. Correct, Miss Frizzle said with a giggle. You both came up with the right answer. The Kilauea on the big island of Kauai is the most active volcano in the world, and it looks like we still need a tiebreaker in the quiz bowl. Tim and I looked at each other. This was getting tough. Listen up. Here's the next tiebreaker question. What is a Hawaiian name for smooth, flat lava? I searched every corner of my brain. I came up with nothing. I looked over at Tim. He looked as clueless as I did. Carlos, do you know the answer to that? I asked hopefully. Carlos, smooth and flat. Could it be a sidewalk? I'm afraid not, Carlos, the freeze said with a smile. Looks like all of you have something to learn while we are in Hawaii. Down below us, the islands of Hawaii looked like a green jigsaw puzzle pieces on the blue ocean. Carlos began to count them. Hawaiian Islands, Hawaii, Maui, Kahului, Lanai, Molokai, Oahu, Kauai, Niihau, Did all those islands really start out as volcanoes? Phoebe asked. But for once, Miss Frizzle was too busy to answer her. She seemed to be having a problem with the magic school jet. I saw her press the landing gear button over and over again. It wasn't working. Uh-oh, kids. The freeze said in a nervous voice. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. The landing gear seems to be stuck. That means we have to prepare for an emergency landing. The freeze said that last part in a voice that meant business. Life preservers popped out of the overhead compartments into our laps. We jumped up and strapped them on. Okay, the freeze announced. This is a new trick for the magic school bus, but I think it'll work out okay. You think it'll work out? Arnold yelled in a hysterical voice. Trust me, Arnold, the freeze said, and grab hold of the sides of the raft. Tim and I looked at each other again. Raft? What raft? Second later, we found out. Magic school jet turned into a big yellow raft in midair. Soon we were falling down out of the sky, grabbing hold of the sides of the raft like our lives depended on it. And they did. I peeked over the side of the raft as we were flying down through the air. Below us was the blue water of the Pacific Ocean. It looked scary, but not as scary as Greenland would have looked. Hold on tight, the freeze yelled. We're about to land now. Kersplash! Our yellow raft hit the top of a huge ocean wave. I could feel the spray of salt water on my face. Then I felt my stomach flap around like a fish. We were riding the wave in our raft like a gigantic surfboard. Awesome, Carlos yelled. Surf's up, Arnold screamed. The surf was up, all right. Our wave was at least 10 feet higher than the surface of the ocean in front of us, and we were coming into shore fast. All of a sudden, the big wave hit the bottom of the ocean floor close to the shore. A second later, we spilled out of the raft into the shallow water along the beach. The magic school raft floated up onto the sand nearby. Welcome to Hawaii, class, Miss Frizzle said with a grin. Oh, Miss Frizzle, Arnold said, I think we may have landed in outer space. There's something very weird about this sand. We all looked down at the sand. Under our feet, it was black. We stumbled out of the water onto the beach. The sand there was black too. I can't tell. You have never been to Hawaii before, Arnold? This sand isn't weird at all. Hey, this would make a strange sand castle, Carlos says, starting to dig in the sand. I know why the sand is black. Wanda said it's all because of volcano. Wow, check out that surfer dude, Carlos suddenly yelled, pointing toward the water. Black beaches. We looked out at the ocean and saw a surfer coming in on a big wave. He had on wild Hawaiian print shorts and was riding his surfboard like a pro. He rode the wave right onto the shore where we stood. Hey, he said with an amazed look on his face, did you guys just fall out of the sky on a raft? Miss Frizzle walked over to the big yellow raft and pulled the plug on its air supply. There was a sudden blast of air that made the black sand swell up around the raft. We couldn't see a thing for a minute. Then the air cleared. Standing on the beach was a magic school bus. Miss Frizzle, I presume, the surfer asked in surprise. The one and only, the freezer said with a smile. I have heard all about you, the surfer said. My cousin who lives on the mainland used to be one of your students. I am Jim Russell. I'm a volcanologist at Volcanoes National Park. Nice to meet you, Jim, the freeze said, shaking his hand. You're a what? I'm a volcanologist. I study volcanoes. Would you like to come with us to see Kilauea? I asked. I had a secret plan all ready. I would get Jim alone and ask him about the Hawaiian name for smooth, flat lava. Just then Tim broke into a conversation. Hey Jim, do you know the Hawaiian name for smooth, flat lava? Tim asked. The answer is somewhere in Volcanoes National Park, Jim said. That's all I will tell you. Can I hitch a ride in the magic school bus back to my house? I gotta pick up my volcanologist gear, and then we'll go see Kilauea. Excellent, we all yelled as we piled into the bus. The freezer slipped in behind the wheel. As she started the bus, its wheel just spun up some black sand. Then we were off, ready to explore the red-hot heart of the most active volcano on Earth. The end.